Here's your host, Alex Garrett.
And welcome inside to the Alex Garrett Podcast Network. Boy, it's been a busy week. And, I want to start a new feature every Wednesday called What Are They Saying Wednesday? And that would be based on Survey Junkie and what surveys they're offering up for you, the average consumer that wants to maybe weigh in on the products you use. They'll actually give you opportunities to get free products for product testing and whatnot. And by the way, you can make money while taking surveys thanks to Survey Junkie. I believe I've seen like 74 million have been paid out already. It's quite a number and quite a rewards platform. So Survey Junkie, I just started yesterday. I joined the journey. Join me if you join my affiliate link on that. It's Survey Thursday instead of What Are They Saying Wednesday. Survey Thursday today. And one survey that still continues to go on is what's going to happen with the Gilgo Beach murder suspect, Rex Herman. And I think I got a caller on my line from Massapequa. Is this Ryan from Massapequa?
This is, yes.
So, Ryan, thanks for calling in. I barely have a caller to this podcast, so it's great to open up the phone line. I was just mentioning about the Gilgo Beach killer and what's going to happen with him, but being in Massapequa, you have some firsthand accounts of sort of what people are saying out there.
Yeah, and first off, Alex, I really appreciate you having me on your show, so thank you very much for the opportunity. But it's just been a crazy 2 months since all this stuff went down with Herman being arrested, and just the fact that it came so suddenly. Nobody really expected this to happen. Everybody in Massapequa really thought that, this case was going to be unsolved. It had been over 12 years since these initial murders took place. So, what was going to change to cause this case to be solved? And ultimately it came down to some new evidence that got uncovered, a pizza crust of all things, linking Rex Herman to those suspects tragically murdered at Gilgo Beach back in 2010. It's really crazy too, because of his life as well, being a white collar worker. Nobody would have ever expected somebody like that to have done all these bad things, to strike a community really with fear. And yet Rex has done just that. Well,
Ryan, I know that you're out there in Massapequa, so what are people telling you? What are they saying to you? Is the community rocked?
1,000% they are. And at least from those that I've talked to within the community, those that have interacted with Rex in the past, he just seems like a normal guy for the most part, and no reason to suspect that he'd be a murderer or anything like that. And I have a couple friends that actually work at the Starbucks in Massapequa, where Rex had actually frequently went to. He was a frequent customer there, and hearing my friends' stories about that. Most of the time, the workers at Starbucks, they would give people nicknames depending on their normal orders and all. And Rex happened to get one of those nicknames, obviously not to his face, but I'm trying to recall what drink it was. I can't name it off the top of my head, but it was a mocha beverage, I believe. That was his normal order that he would get usually. But what's interesting about that as well is that Rex would sometimes be winking at some of the baristas, at least according to those that I've spoken to about it. So there was a little reason to be suspicious there, but to think that he would have, killed a handful of people, nobody would have ever expected that, especially with the tiny home that he had in Massapequa Park that now everybody's treating like the Amityville Horror House.
Well, I know there was a huge, huge crowd the day he got arrested, and you had some colleagues at WRHU. Ryan, by the way, is a college student at Hofstra and is at WRHU, and I know that's a big deal for you, Ryan. Was there any were you able to get on the scene over there and see what that was like in front of his house?
Yeah, so that day I wasn't able to. Funny enough, actually, I was at 970 The Answer, helping you out with Tommy Sentner's show when all this news broke, and we had our chief engineer, Andy Gladding, out there to report on the news. Now, that was a heck of a report that he gave, but it was just a surreal day. The day that...
Since that day, have you been able to see it? Because I feel like that's now a touristy attraction. I hate to say that, but it feels like it is.
No, it pretty much is at this point. I mean, everybody's been treating it like the Amityville Horror House of sorts. Everybody stopping by, taking pictures with it, and being like, ooh, I got a picture right in front of the Gilgo guy's house. You know, that's... I don't know. That's just not something you really got to be proud of for the most part. Plus, it's a residential neighborhood as well. The people living around Huerman's home, they don't need the attention. I mean, they're just trying to live their lives like anybody else and not be dragged into it. And I'll give props to Nassau County and the town of Massapequa Park for taking action about that. They installed, and I don't know if these are still around Huerman's house. I'm willing to bet that they still are, but they had installed street signs saying no parking anytime in the area in front and I believe across from Huerman's home, to try to curb those efforts that many other people are taking to get a picture in front of this guy's house. I mean, his ex-wife, I believe, was still living there at the time, and I mean, it's just devastation.
She wanted them all off the lawn, if you remember. She wanted them off the lawn. But Ryan, you mentioned a little while ago Starbucks. Didn't they give him a nickname as well? You mentioned it to me off air.
Yeah, they did give him a nickname. Off the top of my head, I could not recall what specifically the nickname was. But from people that I've talked to that have worked at that Starbucks, they definitely did give him a nickname. But, you know, I really wish I had the exact one for you here.
Ryan, let me ask you real quickly. With this trial coming up, I'm sure he's going to probably, or the defense will indict others as well or implicate others. Can the town of Massapequa handle that if they implicate others that you wouldn't suspect?
Oh, I mean, that's a very good question, Alex. I mean, this community has already been rocked by Huerman being exposed for who he truly is. And to be quite frank, it was just a lot of devastation in the community when one guy was arrested 2 months ago for these murders. I don't really know if they'd be able to handle another arrest if, say, there was somebody else that was connected to these murders to some extent. I'm not here to speculate by any means that there were other people involved with these killings, but, you know, what I am saying is if Huerman is going to be the type of person to throw other people under the bus, throw people that he was involved with in the past who, you know, had knowledge about these killings in the first place, even though allegedly Rex really kept it quiet. And someone did a good job at it for over a decade, which is crazy for me to be saying, but it wouldn't really surprise me. But it would indeed lead to more devastation for a community that has really dealt with a ton of it. Especially this past year. It's been crazy.
Are you a lifelong Massapequa resident?
A lifelong, you know, I wish I could say that, but I have lived in Massapequa for over 20 years now. So originally I was a Levittown boy myself my first year living on this earth, but about less than a year in, February of 2003, I believe, my family did move to Massapequa, and that's pretty much where I've stayed ever since. So
20 years.
Got a lot of town pride in me.
What's going on in your life? Because I hear that you're about to be honored. Is that right? I mean, we work together, but what are you being honored for this week?
Yeah, so September 29th, the New York State Broadcasters Association is having a luncheon in Manhattan, Excellence in Broadcasting Awards, I believe, and it's at Chelsea Pier, I believe the current restaurant. So, you know, really good views overlooking the Hudson River. And as far as what I'm getting honored for, so this is actually an accolade for WRHU, but I did a piece last year, June of 2022. So after the tragic Uvalde shooting took place, March for Our Lives, they held a big rally in Washington, D.C., but they also had smaller rallies going on all throughout the country. And there were a couple on Long Island. Mineola was actually the one that I had attended for WRHU, and that was actually an event that I covered. I got to talk to a couple of the speakers actually about, what needs to change to prevent shootings like Uvalde from happening again. Got to talk to a couple of people who participated in the march, but just to be able to document the march and see how passionate these people were about putting an end to gun violence. I will say it was great to be a part of. I produced about a 3-minute news piece actually for WRHU's news programming. And now the New York State Broadcasters Association is giving me an award. I actually got one from the Press Club a couple months ago for the same piece. So now, a couple months later, with the New York State Broadcasters Association, being able to be a part of that is, I'm humbled and honored. But it's really shows that how much of a pleasure it is to be able to be a community journalist of sorts and to be able to cover these stories happening in our backyards and to be able to talk about it, get it on a platform.
Well, congratulations, Ryan Pagano. And one last thing, Islander fans, will they hear you on the broadcast this year?
Well, as far as play-by-play color commentary goes, no, that is not really my domain. But yes, as far as hearing my voice on their airwaves, I definitely can expect to hear it. Probably not this month, but November, December. They usually shuffle the crews around for that. They usually have a bunch of different people going on air. But yes, you can expect to hear my voice on the air again, whether it's for a future, even an in-game sports update, which I did do a little bit of last season. So yeah, this won't be the last time hearing me, let's just say.
I love that. All right, Ryan, well, good luck on everything, and I can't wait to hear about the award ceremony and whatnot. Maybe I'll have you back on next week, but thanks for calling into the show today.
Well, I appreciate it as always, Alex. Thank you.
I'm Alex Garrett. That has been One Leg Up with Alex Garrett, a surprise call-in from Ryan Pagano. Thanks again, Ryan, and we'll talk to you soon on the Alex Garrett Podcast Network.